Political challenges, the high cost of living, and health care are primary concerns for Coloradans. We learned this last month when we talked with the Colorado Health Foundation about the Phase 1 results of their annual Pulse poll. Now, taking a deeper dive, they're finding many Coloradans face challenges that far exceed the statewide average. Joining us once again, this time to talk about Phase 2 is Katie Peshek. For the record, or I should say for the second part of your study, researchers took a deeper dive on the data. So share a little bit about what you learned there.
Sure, yeah. So the Colorado Health Foundation launched the Pulse Poll in 2020, and it's a way for us to really just listen to the experiences of Coloradans on the issues that matter most to them. So cost really continues to dominate that conversation. When I was here last time and we chatted, we talked about cost of living, housing, and healthcare are really top of mind for many Coloradans. But one of the things we're seeing is that those challenges are not experienced evenly across the state. About half of Coloradans report experiencing some kind of financial challenge, but some are being hit much harder than others. Some of those groups include the unemployed, folks living on lower incomes, the LGBTQ community, and people who rent their homes. Those are all groups that are reporting more financial challenges, including postponing medical and dental care, postponing mental health care, and being able to just make a lot of sacrifices to afford living in Colorado.
Right. And I remember last time when you came here, you talked about how people really do want to make a difference within their communities. Sure. After exploring more of that, have you found exactly what is driving that?
Yeah, so one of the questions we ask in the poll is around civic engagement, and we give folks a range of different options that they can use to engage with their community. And unfortunately, what we found is that folks don't view many of them as particularly effective. So things like talking directly to policymakers or attending local government meetings, they're not really feeling those as particularly effective use of their time. The one thing that did cross over into effective category is volunteering with organizations that really matter to them. And so at the Colorado Health Foundation, one of our focuses is on that real local level and being able to engage folks both in nonprofits that they care about and also just in their very local community. People tend to feel like that's a more effective use of their time.
It's good to hear that that connectivity is like being felt across the board. But I am curious because when you mentioned mental health as being something that's postponed, I mean, unacceptable. What can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we see a high level of mental health strain that has stayed pretty consistent since the COVID pandemic. And definitely the largest contributor to that mental health strain is politics and frustration around government, frustration around politics in general is the highest contributor to mental health strain, ahead of family issues, relationship issues, many other things that people would normally attribute. So, and we do see that continued rise in delaying mental health care treatment as a trade-off to be able to afford living in Colorado. So that combination of feeling like mental health strain is on the rise, with also not being able to afford care, is a concern that we're paying attention to.
A huge concern. Yeah, I would say so. You also mentioned that Coloradans are feeling a financial stress, and you talked about how marginalized communities are the ones that are feeling it the most. Did you learn about some of the indicators, and so hopefully we can correct it? Did that come out in that study?
Sure. I think some of the things are just how much the cost of living is starting to permeate into every area of people's lives is really what we're seeing. And like I mentioned, some groups are being hit harder than that by others. But one of the stats I keep coming back to is that 70% of Coloradans are concerned about their ability to afford living in Colorado in the future. So while we definitely are particularly concerned about those living on lower incomes or the unemployed or people without health care who are really struggling to afford Colorado, the majority of people in the state are really worried about if the next generation will be able to stay. So I think something that policymakers, we hope, will pay attention to and really start to dive into those systemic solutions to fix that.
Speaking of the future, I'm curious, what did this poll kind of gleam into what we should be keeping an eye on as far as issues are concerned?
Sure. I think as changes continue to come from the federal level, it's going to be important for policymakers here in the state, especially as we head into legislative session, to think about how to bring people into that political process. Concern and frustration around government and politics was very high, combined with a feeling that it's not as effective to get involved. So how do we as a community, as policymakers, as foundations, like the work that I do, how do we bring people closer to that process so they really feel like they have a voice on the issues that matter most to them?
Very telling. I hope the policymakers are listening.
Yeah.
Katie, thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.